These are the world's most luxurious homes, built in the most amazing places by the sea. Occupied by the rich and famous, some of these places cost tens of millions of dollars. So join me as we take a look at 15 of the most incredible homes by the water. Number 15. The Pole House. The Pole House is one of the most photographed homes in Australia, and it's really not hard to see why. Sitting on, or really over, Fairhaven Beach, the Pole House has some really stellar views of the ocean as it shoots out over the lush green hills towards the water, seemingly dangling 130 feet in the air. The home was originally designed in the 1970s by Frank Dixon when he decided to build a vacation home somewhere where he could enjoy the scenery while feeling a bit isolated from the rest of the world. To get to the house, Dixon and his family have to walk down the long, perpendicular walkway connecting the structure to the street, which is supported by just one thin pillar. It is truly a one-of-a-kind home. Unfortunately, its beach location is also its downfall. After years of exposure to the elements, incessant winds, and ocean sprays, the Pole House has since become incredibly fragile before being restored in more recent years. Number 14. 23 Star Island Drive. Just past our last entry is 23 Star Island Drive, listed at $49 million. Sitting on almost 2 acres of land, this 7-bedroom, 7.5-bathroom estate comes with a full view of Biscayne Bay. The lot itself is an enormous 80,000 square feet with 327 feet of waterfront. Complete with its own dock, this is another home that will let you pull your yacht or yachts right up to the property after a quick joyride. Once you step inside to the almost 10,000 square foot interior, you'll find a billiards room, hallways full of massive walk-in closets, marble kitchen countertops and floors, and a luxurious spiral staircase. And when you need to get some fresh air outside, you can take a dip in the pool or grab your racket and play some tennis on the full-size court. 23 Star Island Drive resides in one of Miami Beach's most desirable luxury communities on Star Island. It's a man-made island in Biscayne Bay and is only accessible by its bridge. Some of the residents of Star Island include Gloria Estefan, Sean Puffy Combs, Sylvester Stallone, and Shaquille O'Neal. Good luck getting invited to that block party. Number 13. 34 Lagore Circle. The home at 34 Lagore Circle is so extravagant that one of the former owners is none other than Cher. This home on the water was listed for a whopping $38 million in 2015, so you can bet it's extravagant. When you walk on to this amazing piece of luxury property, which is a total of 23,000 square feet, you'll first find not just a driveway but a motor court and 3 separate garages for all of the owners and their guests' flashy cars. When you finally step inside this 11,000 square foot home, you'll find meditation quarters that obviously have to overlook the ocean. How else can you find inner peace unless you're looking at the crystal clear water that's just a stone's throw away? And with floor-to-ceiling windows, you can wake up to the beautiful Miami sunrise and wind down to her sunsets day in and day out. It's like Mother Earth's own mood lighting provided just for you. If the salt water is too much after some meditating, then take a dip in the heated infinity pool that makes you feel like you're swimming on the Atlantic coast with 140 feet of waterfront. Then jump in the giant jacuzzi and hang out in the cabana afterwards. At 34 Lagore Circle, you'll feel like you're on vacation every single day. Number 12. Manshausen Island Resort. Norway is pretty big on nature, and designers, architects, and artists are always trying to find fun, new, and practical ways to incorporate that appreciation into everyday life. So why not just enjoy all the comforts of home while essentially living on the water? Because that's exactly what's going on with the Manshausen Island Resort in Norway. These little seaside cabins are totally remote and built right on the rocks, jutting out over the waters of the Norwegian Sea. And while it may be a resort, it comprises just 4 of these modern little cabins, all of which are on the small island in Norway's Stein Archipelago. Unless they're traveling by boat, no one is going to bother you. And as you can see, about a third of the cabins here are made totally of glass, giving you some seriously awesome views and letting you feel as if you're walking on water. You can even fish in the sea. Just imagine waking up to the sunrise every morning here with a cup of coffee, basking in the light and enjoying a glass of wine to watch the sunset. It really is a Nordic fairy tale come true. Number 11. Exbury Egg. Living on beachfront property or even in a home dangling off the cliff is one thing, But actually living on the water is a totally different beast. Located in the United Kingdom, the Exbury Egg is an awesome little abode that sits right on top of the water. This small floating residence was actually built by a boat builder who took their inspiration from, you guessed it, a bird's egg, specifically the seabirds who rest and roost on the banks of the Bolu River. It may be small and better suited for just one person, but the Exbury Egg has a living space and even a small kitchen and stove to provide the basic creature comforts. There's even a hammock to help you enjoy the outdoor scenery and the skylight, which provides some pretty spectacular views of the stars every night. But the location of the Exbury Egg holds some significance as well. It was built in the New Forest, a fully open forest in southern England with a history that reaches all the way back to the 11th century. Outside of looking quite awesome, the purpose of the Exbury Egg was to be sustainable and have as minimal an impact as possible on the environment. Number 10. The Gemini Mansion. One of the most expensive houses in the United States, the Gemini Mansion feels like more of a resort than it does a single person's home. And that's probably because it takes up 16 acres of space that extends from land to sea. It's an absolute marvel of a mansion just outside of Palm Beach, Florida, holding 12 bedrooms in the main house, another 7 in the guest cottage, and a total of 34 bathrooms. That's just about one bathroom every day of the month and then some. The Gemini Mansion has been around since the 1940s and is the former home of fashion icon and socialite Gloria Guinness. Nowadays, it's owned by, according to Forbes, the 14th richest family in the United States. But it's the view that is priceless, offering 1,200 feet of frontage right on the Atlantic Ocean and another 1,300 feet on the Intercoastal Waterway. Living here is as close to owning a slice of paradise as you can get. That is, if you've got the cash. Number 9. Mandalay Villa, Providenciales, Turks and Caicos. Turks and Caicos has been one of the hottest vacation destinations for Westerners looking to soak up some sunshine on a white sandy beach while saving a few bucks in the process. But the Mandalay Villas in Providenciales are really something else. This place sits right on the water, with the structure almost watching the surrounding waters. They're so clean and pristine, and while having access to the 7 bedrooms, all made by an award-winning designer, the real prize here is the scenery. The private property sits on more than 200 feet of shoreline, and even the home's pool reaches out over the sand. It's absolutely gorgeous. And you'd better believe that the master bedroom has a beachfront deck and an outdoor shower right there in the sand. And the best part of all of this is if you buy the house, that beach is all yours and you never spend time looking for an empty spot on the sand again, as long as you can afford the $16 million asking price. Number 8. Hala'akai Estate, Kilauea, Hawaii. When the Hala'akai Estate in Kilauea, Hawaii hit the market in 2018, it became the most expensive home on the island, with a whopping $70 million asking price. And it's easy to see why. It's a 4-bedroom Balinese-style home with all sorts of amenities that only a millionaire can afford. But perhaps the biggest draw to this villa is the ocean. The Hala'akai Estate sits on a full 15 acres of waterfront on Secret Beach, overlooking the crystal-clear waters of the Pacific Ocean. The estate is incredibly serene, surrounded by plenty of tropical trees and plants, and you'll feel like you really are in the jungles of Bali, completely sequestered from the rest of the world, listening to the sounds of the ocean at your doorstep as you drift away to sleep. And aside from all of that Southeast Asian-inspired artifacts that adorn the entire estate, there's an organic garden on the premises as well. Number 7. Floating Seahorse. Leave it to Dubai to come up with one of the most insane and extravagant houses in history. While it's certainly no Burj Khalifa, the Floating Seahorse isn't beachfront property, but it's quite literally right on the water. This floating home is built in the World Islands, the man-made islands meant to mimic a map of the world. Designed by the Kleindienst Group, these homes on the water took more than 5,000 hours of research and another 13,000 hours of design and engineering to get it just right. Because what good is a house on the water if it sinks? The plans for these floating seahorses were announced in 2016, and the hype was very real, with 60 units having been sold before they were even complete. And just how much is one of these seahorse seahouses going for? You're looking at about $12 million each. But these homes are like icebergs because so much of them are actually underwater. which is where you'll also find the master bedroom and bathroom across 270 square feet. And to make things a little more interesting, the sub-level features floor-to-ceiling windows where you'll be able to look out at your own personal 500 square foot coral garden. Number 6. The Drina River House. A home by the water doesn't need to be extravagant for it to be interesting, because more often than not, the icing on the cake is the location itself. Case in point with the Drina River House in Serbia. Located just outside of the city of Banja Basta on the outskirts of Tara National Park, this small and quaint home is perched perfectly atop a rock in the middle of a river, with some seriously gorgeous scenery serving as the backdrop. The Drina River House was originally built in 1968 by a group of friends looking to move away from city living and get more in touch with nature. Using old wood from an abandoned warehouse, they made multiple trips, piling it all into small boats and canoes, and sometimes even using the river's current to transport their materials to the secluded spot. Now it's one of the country's most iconic wooden houses, and it was even featured on the cover of National Geographic in 2012. But seeing as how the Drina River House is in such a precarious spot, it's been damaged more than once from flooding and needed some serious rebuilds afterwards. But luckily, the locals feel so strongly about their landmark that there are always people ready to lend a helping hand when it comes to repairs. And as you might imagine, the Drina River House is a pretty big tourist attraction as well. Number 5. The Clingstone House. Another house that totally rocks is the Clingstone House over in Narragansett Bay, Rhode Island. The Clingstone House is a 3-story cedar shingle mansion built all the way back in 1905 by a Philadelphia socialite with nothing but money and time. But it is actually a pretty interesting story, because the original owner, Joseph Lovering Wharton, built the Clingstone House to stick it to the United States government after it had seized his summer home and the surrounding land from him in order to build a fort at the turn of the century. And so what better revenge than to be successful? Wharton needed a location where he could be left alone, so what better place than a giant rock in the middle of the bay? The Clingstone House has managed to not just withstand the test of time, but storms, hurricanes, and the constant barrage of corrosive sea breezes for well over 100 years. The rebellious Clingstone House is built just 20 feet above sea level, so every day it survives the tides is truly a miracle. Nowadays, the home is owned by a descendant of Wharton who still manages to make a few annual trips to the Clingstone House with his family to get an up-close and personal view of the hurricanes in the bay. Number 4. Song Sa Private Island. It's time to get a little tropical again with the next breathtaking entry on our list. Built on a completely private island in Cambodia, Song Sa is a luxury resort where you really can get away from the world. Guests can stay at these amazing bungalows built right over the water and just exist on their own slice of paradise. Built in 2012 on the Korong Archipelago, the Song Sa private island and bungalows look like they were built by Robinson Crusoe, who you can bet had everything done by Friday. Each space is 2 bedrooms and is built with rough timber to help it blend into the island vibes, but the floors are made of all glass, so you'll be treated to some pretty spectacular sights, and can even let the sun shine through the waters and up through the floors to wake you up with some really magical colors you're not going to find anywhere else. And if you're feeling like you need to explore a bit, private boats and jetties are available to all guests. Number 3. Fallingwater. You just can't have a list of stunning homes in amazing locations without talking about Frank Lloyd Wright. The world-renowned architect has helped erect plenty of amazing homes, but his Fallingwater really takes the cake. Wright's Fallingwater can be found in Pennsylvania and stands out from our other entries because instead of overlooking the turquoise waters of the sea or the serene currents of a lake, this one sits right on top of a waterfall. Hence the name, Fallingwater. Designed in 1935, Wright's water home sits in the Laurel Highlands and is built from the native sandstone found in the area. Fallingwater became the vacation home of a wealthy family who passed the property down from one generation to the next before donating it, not just the home but the 469 acres of land generally untouched by man, to the nonprofit the Western Pennsylvania Conservatory. Luckily for the rest of us, though, that means that the Fallingwater home is open to the public, operating as a museum. Number 2. Tip of the Tail Villa. When you live on a street named Turtle Tail Drive, you know you can take it slow. And you'll stop dead in your tracks when you see this bit of waterfront property known as the tip of the tail. Turtle Tail Drive is another home on the water in Turks and Caicos, but it definitely gives off those island vibes with just a splash of Mykonos architecture and color. This home offers up 11,000 square feet, complete with 6 bedrooms and just as many bathrooms. But more importantly, the lucky owner will have the end of this private peninsula all to themselves, making it the perfect place for anyone who just hates to share as they stare out into the waters of the Caicos banks. And the white sandy beach could be yours for the modest asking price of $7 million, with your only neighbors being fish and the lobsters in the water that you can 100% fish for if you want. The Tip of the Tail Villa is zen to the max. Number 1. Gaiola Island. Gaiola Island is a small island made of 2 inlets connected by a small stone bridge just off the Gulf of Naples, surrounded by rocky shores and crystal clear water that barely hides the ancient ruins at the bottom of the sea, and is home to a private villa that gives you a full 360-degree view of the area. And while you may be itching to move into this amazing home that looks suited for a Bond villain, many of the locals fear to tread on Gaiola Island. Well, what exactly is going on here? Well, the island has been around since Roman imperial times, but many will tell you that a curse has befallen the villa in the 1800s that remains today. It all started when the sole man who lived there, Il Mago, or the Wizard, disappeared without a trace or explanation. The next inhabitant suffered from financial ruin after building the villa, and a ship crashed and fell into the bottom of the sea along with the crew at the turn of the 20th century here. But it doesn't stop there, because in 1920 the next owners were the victims of a grisly murder, and everyone who lived in the home on the water afterwards succumbed to a similar dark fate. Today, though, Gaiola Island is part of the Gaiola Underwater Park and is protected by the region of Campania. And if you don't believe in curses, no one will stop you from swimming over to the island and taking a peek inside the forsaken residence. Watch our binge-watching playlist if you'd like to watch all of our most popular top 15 videos. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and get ready to binge.